Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Today, Martin Creamer joins me to discuss concern over the South African mining industry's plummeting output and job losses, and the country's potential to make mining fly again. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Tracy.
So, James Lorimer, the Shadow Minister of the DA for Minerals Resources, has highlighted that there's concern about the plummeting production levels of the mining industry and the job losses. What are the current stats?
You know, the stats are 18% down, which is a large percentage, year on year. And also, we have seen the mining industry shrink. I mean, it's smaller than it was in 1994. So this is a national patrimony we're talking about here. You know, the value in the ground is a treasure. And the way we're managing it is in an adversarial way. There's continual hostility between the industry and the government, and they don't see eye to eye, and it goes on and on and on. Now, we've missed two big cycles, in the mining business, which hurt us badly. Now we could miss a third. This is a cyclical business. It's down at the moment, and that production figure of being down can be advantageous in these circumstances because you can't oversupply a market. You've got to make sure that you supply to meet demand. Otherwise, you're going to have the prices falling and you're going to be hurt because those prices sometimes take long to recover. So we're in that context, and it's not only South Africa, it's globally where things are down because the commodity price is down. The commodity price is down because demand is low. Demand is low because the world economy isn't moving the way it should do. But at the same time, we know that these things come back. That there will be a time. You can see urbanization building up in Africa even. Which will result in demand for metals and minerals. Will we be ready? We've been missing the boat, and the country needs to be ready for those upturns because that is when, the groundswell of money comes in, and we need that for our economy, but also we notice our rand. I mean, it's so volatile at the moment. You need some sort of stability there. That exportation can give it to you. That's why the mines are so valuable. They attract foreign investment, which is wonderful, often in the form of equity and not even local debt. And then they export, and those exports bring in the currency into your country. So, the world over, people recognize mining for that. Obviously, mining has got to make sure it does things in the modern way. It's got to make the planet better when it leaves it, etc. But it is needed. There's no way you can get away from mined commodities. I mean, you won't even be able to brush your teeth in the morning. I mean, those minerals come through. You won't be able to drive a car. It's so essential. We know that. But Lorimer is saying, why did we have to shrink so much? Why are we missing all these opportunities? And biggest of all, I mean, the job losses, colossal. He's talking about quarter and quarter, 10,000 job losses. We know that the mining is also going into a modernization where people will probably be mediated with technology to a greater extent. So, but what must be recognized is that the mining activities create jobs in engineering, in services, in catering, in food, in all sorts of activities, water engineering, electricity. It just creates a demand everywhere and that spin-off is what's so important, and that's what James Lorimer, the Shadow Minerals Minister for the Democratic Alliance, is lamenting. He's a second-generation politician. I remember his father in Parliament before him. So he's examining what is happening, and as a South African, his heart's breaking that we're losing out so unnecessarily because of adversarial politics that don't seem to be resolved yet. And how long are they going to go on for? We've been hearing about a change to the legislation for so long. He's saying, look, stop just fiddling around like this. Get down to it. Get that MPRDA signed. Make sure it's a good one. Make sure you're going to attract investment. Make sure you're going to have activity on your Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Make sure you're going to create jobs and boost the economy because you can.
But what specifically is it about the MPRDA and the mining charter that he is concerned with?
It's just this huge uncertainty that it creates. If you've got such a lot of uncertainty like that, you don't have any confidence. If you don't have any confidence, you don't have any investment, and you go round in this circle. So where are we as South Africans? We are going to hurt our future generations. We are starting to reach a point where strength is being lost in this industry. If strength is lost in the mining industry, it starts getting sloppy. We can't afford it to get sloppy in this modern world. It's got to be pristine. When it goes into an area and takes valuables out of the ground, it must make sure that when it leaves, that ground is better than when it arrived there. And we have seen examples of that, like, at Richards Bay Minerals, etc. You can't believe the extent of the rehabilitation. It is spectacular. And you do feel it's better now than it was before. That's the sort of character the mine must have. But if they're getting weaker and weaker, and you find the Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Mines yesterday saying, half our mines are running at a loss. That's not going to help anybody, because where's the government going to get its taxes from? Where are we going to get all that spin-off into all the associated and industries around mining? You lose that. It hits you very, very hard. Our minerals and energy complex has been huge in South Africa. We've built our economy on this minerals and energy complex. And both the minerals and the energy are starting to give us concern. So we really need to say we're hitting rock bottom. Now let's move, get together, make sure South Africans collectively push the industry forward and push the economy forward.
And are other African countries succeeding in growing interest in their mining markets?
Yeah, well, look at Dr. Tony Harwood, coming in to our studio this week and talking to us about, the investments of Montero, his company, which is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, both in South Africa and in Tanzania. And he's saying, the difference that the election has made in Tanzania is tangible. You can touch it. And he's gone in there, this new president. He has a rare earths project that he's trying to advance there, but he's starting to look for more. And these people who are involved in exploration do an incredible job. It's not an easy thing to go in and risk to that extent, where you have to drill holes and find out what's there. It's difficult to do, because you've got to attract investment to get those funds, and then you've got to give a return on those investments, which is very difficult. Why can the Canadian companies do it? Because they've got special incentives through the flow-through scheme. You go to Canada and you see those high-rise buildings in Toronto and you say, gee, where did they get this wealth? Mining. And it's around that whole exploration idea, and they've perfected it with the flow-through scheme, where, it means that the benefits of your expenditure flow right through to every shareholder. The taxi driver, the guy, he gets the benefit. He can write off a tax amount because he's invested in this explorer who's doing the hard yards. But then, generally, those explorers hit pay dirt, and that's when everything starts benefiting everybody. We need a bit of that culture. I mean, we're one of the mining destinations. We haven't got a prospectors culture. As Dr. Tony Harwood was saying, look at that prospectors convention in Canada. Attracts an enormous number of people, 30,000 people to a prospectors conference. That's how big their culture is in startups. And this is what we need in South Africa, the startups. Bring in the entrepreneurs. Bring in all the people of South Africa. Let them work together. That's what we want to do. They're not creating the environment for it. The government is not creating the proper environment to give that confidence. Whereas in Tanzania, Dr. Tony Harwood goes back in and says, no, he wants to do more there. Now, we know that Africa shouldn't be like this. There should be a situation where there's consistency. But perhaps this is the start of a new era for Tanzania, and that's what people will bet on. It's got some big gold mines there. It can get a lot more. Gold is the flavor of the month at the moment. People want to go in. This president gives confidence. People want to do it. It shows you how quickly you can give confidence. Just have a president saying, we want to do things the right way. You're going to get out of corruption. Clean up your departments now. I want to see that they're perfect before, I give you a visit. And that sort of thing does a lot. They're saying tourism there is already picking up. The economy is lifting just because of the utterances of the man at the top. And it shows you, if we get someone here that can give that confidence, we can also turn very quickly. And we've got a big base here because we have been colossal in the past. We can leverage off that and claw our way back and make sure that we really hit the high spots again.
Thanks, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Tracy.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.